No. Stop. Please.
Is he dead?
Yeah.
Who killed him? You?
Yeah.
She alive?
If she was, she's wishing right now that... Okay, I come here to make sure that runs right. Do you understand me? I'm not supposed to be dealing...
Where's the Look, what is wrong with you?
The story opens with a brutal cartel leader named Alejandro entering a strip club in search of a dealer who has betrayed him. Instead of finding the man he wants, he only comes across the dealer's girlfriend, Lizzie. Alejandro leaves behind a clear warning, telling her that her boyfriend must come see him immediately. Lizzie insists that the dealer, Jensen, is not even her boyfriend, and that they only spent one night together before going their separate ways. Alejandro shows no interest in her explanation. He pulls out a blade and threatens to murder Lizzie and her family if she does not help him locate Jensen. As Lizzie exits, a security guard who saw everything steps in and attempts to intervene. He has no idea how dangerous Alejandro truly is. Without hesitation, Alejandro kills him on the spot. The scene then transitions to a peaceful, isolated area far from the city. This is where we meet Baudry, a former secret agent who now lives a quiet life with his daughter Sophie. They reside in a small cabin hidden deep within the forest, cut off from the noise and violence of urban life. Their routine is simple and controlled. Sophie is not raised like an ordinary teenager. Baudry is extremely cautious, and instead of giving her lectures about parties or nightlife, he trains her in the use of weapons. Sophie has grown up with this lifestyle and considers it completely normal. The following morning begins with Baudry kneeling in prayer, expressing gratitude for his family and the peaceful life they share. It is Sophie's birthday, and he has already prepared a cake, along with a surprise gift. While Sophie continues sleeping, Baudry travels into town to pick up hunting supplies. At his regular shop, he comes across a second-hand lawnmower. It still works well and only needs minor repairs, so he purchases it for a cheap price. Back at the cabin, Sophie wakes up and opens her present. Inside, she finds a semi-automatic Glock, the very thing she had secretly hoped for. Excited, she stores it safely before heading down to the river to fish. Moments later, she hears desperate cries for help echoing through the woods. Rather than running toward the sound without thinking, Sophie relies on the training her father gave her and rushes back to the cabin to alert him, just as Baudry is returning home. Together, they head back to the riverbank and begin searching the area. Before long, they find a young woman named January floating in the water, badly wounded. Baudry quickly spots a bullet injury in her side. He wants to rush her to the hospital, but January weakly pleads for him not to. With only basic medical supplies available, Baudry works carefully to slow the bleeding and keep her alive. This single decision will soon turn their quiet lives upside down. After her wounds are treated, Sophie makes a bowl of hot chicken soup to help January regain her strength. As evening settles in, Baudry cautions Sophie to stay alert and keep her distance. January is still a stranger with a gunshot injury, and they know nothing about who she truly is or what trouble she may be connected to. His only concern is keeping Sophie safe and making sure she understands the risks. When morning comes, January wakes up and discovers that one of her hands is secured to the bed frame with handcuffs. Sophie calmly tells her that this is part of her father's safety routine. Though it feels uncomfortable, January realizes their actions are meant to protect both her and the family, and she accepts their explanation. While this is happening, Baudry goes into town to purchase medicine and fresh clothes for January. At the store, he unexpectedly runs into an old friend, the town sheriff named Brake. Brake introduces him to his new partner Davenport, who has just been assigned to the area. After exchanging a few words, they each go on with their business. That night, long after Sophie has fallen asleep, January sits down with Baudry and finally reveals the truth. She says that when she returned home from work, she found her roommate Lizzie being tortured by two masked attackers. Even though January had nothing to do with the situation, she was injured as well. The men forced both women to the river, where they executed a man tied to Lizzie and dumped his body into the water. January briefly managed to run, but was shot in the stomach before she could escape. Thinking she had died and been swept away by the river, the attackers left her behind. At first light, Baudry walks along the riverbank to confirm January's account. He soon discovers Lizzie's body trapped among tree branches near the shore. Knowing that the killers would realize January survived if they came across the body, he makes a painful decision and releases it back into the flowing water. Later, Baudry explains everything to Sophie. He wrestles with whether he should continue hiding January or report her to the police. Sophie pleads with him to let January heal before making any choice, and Baudry reluctantly agrees to wait. Several days pass, and one evening, January finally steps outside after regaining some strength. She finds Baudry sitting alone and sincerely thanks him for saving her life, knowing she would not have survived without their help. Seeing her recovery, Baudry informs her that the next day she will be taken to a medical clinic run by an old friend, where all her care will be paid for. January understands and agrees to his plan. That same night, Alejandro captures Jensen and viciously beats him. It is revealed that Jensen is a crooked police officer who has secretly been helping Alejandro maintain his criminal operation. During their most recent exchange, Jensen betrayed him by stealing the merchandise and disappearing. When Jensen refuses to cooperate, Alejandro executes him in a brutal and unforgiving manner. The following day, everything is set for January to be taken to a medical clinic to continue her recovery. While driving there, their vehicle is suddenly stopped due to an incident reported from the previous night, and the officer in charge happens to be Sheriff Brake. At first, Baudry remains calm. Sheriff Brake explains that during his morning patrol, he discovered the body of his deputy, Jensen, washed up along the river. The investigation is still ongoing, but police have also located another body farther downstream, Lizzie's. What troubles Baudry is that investigators have already uncovered Lizzie's background and learned that she lived with a close friend. Witnesses reported that both women vanished at the same time. As for that friend, January, the police have no idea where she is. Davenport adds that footprints were found near Lizzie's body, leading him to believe that January may still be alive and possibly hiding with someone. He briefly pauses when he notices a woman standing with Baudry in the distance. Without missing a beat, Baudry claims that the woman is his niece who came to town to celebrate Sophie's birthday. With the clinic now feeling unsafe, he turns the car around and brings January back to the cabin instead. Once there, January finally admits the full truth. On the night of the attack, one of the masked men removed his disguise and threatened to kill both her and Lizzie before she escaped and was carried away by the river. Realizing that January is alive and now a vital witness, Baudry understands the attackers will never stop searching for her. That same night, two unfamiliar men arrive at the cabin. They are revealed to be Alejandro's operatives. No one knows how they tracked the place down, but Baudry insists he has not seen any strange woman in the area. Eventually, he convinces them to leave, though it becomes clear they are not truly gone. One of the attackers quietly slips back into the cabin to assassinate January while his partner waits outside in the car. This decision proves fatal. Baudry manages to overpower and restrain him. When Sophie fires a warning shot from inside the house, Baudry quickly neutralizes the threat for good. To remove all evidence of the encounter, Baudry burns the bodies and drives the vehicle into an abandoned mine, where it will likely never be discovered. When they return home, January collapses in tears, apologizing for bringing danger into their lives. She knows her presence has placed both Baudry and Sophie in terrible risk. Baudry later meets in secret with Sheriff Brake and admits that the missing woman from the river is still alive and under his protection. Aware that Alejandro will continue sending men, Baudry asks the sheriff to keep this information hidden and help relocate January out of town. Before she leaves, Baudry gives January a large amount of money so she can begin a new life elsewhere. As Sheriff Brake drives her away, Sophie watches with tears in her eyes, realizing she has lost someone who had become like family, and that letting her go is the only way to protect her. The following morning, Sophie starts worrying about January's safety. Baudry shares her concern and attempts to call Sheriff Brake, but the phone line is no longer in service. With no other option, they drive to the police station to look for him. Sophie waits in the car while Baudry speaks with Davenport, who has just finished addressing the officers. Instead of answering questions about Sheriff Brake, Davenport dodges the subject and steers the conversation elsewhere. He even hints that the sheriff may have been involved with Jensen. Baudry rejects this idea, knowing Brake was an honest man who never took bribes. Later that night, an unfamiliar car quietly pulls up near their cabin. The driver steps out. It is Davenport. His intentions are unclear as he sneaks inside holding a gun. Before he can make a move, Baudry attacks and restrains him. Soon, Davenport is bound to a chair with a lawnmower positioned directly in front of him. Under pressure, he finally confesses the truth. Sheriff Brake is already dead, and January was delivered to Alejandro shortly after leaving Baudry's protection. Learning that his closest friend has been murdered and that January has been taken, Baudry demands to know Alejandro's location. When Davenport refuses and taunts him instead, Baudry is forced to extract the truth by force. After Davenport finally gives up Alejandro's hideout, Baudry pauses to write a letter to Sophie. In it, he apologizes for not protecting her the way he should have and tells her that if he does not return by morning, she must go to her grandmother's home in Mexico. Baudry then drives to an abandoned factory, dragging the badly injured Davenport with him as bargaining leverage. There, Alejandro confronts him with confidence and open threats, prepared to kill both Baudry and his prisoner. Unnoticed, Sophie secretly follows her father. A fierce gun battle erupts. As Alejandro retreats deeper into the factory, Baudry is shot in the chest and falls to the ground. One of Alejandro's men moves in to finish him, but Sophie fires from a distance and saves her father's life. Her action exposes her position, and another enemy immediately begins advancing toward her. Thinking fast, Sophie drops her rifle as a decoy, luring the attacker away from her hiding place. Inside the factory, Baudry finds January alive and unharmed. He also realizes that Jensen's wife and child are being held there as well. As he searches for the keys to free them, Alejandro suddenly attacks from behind and stabs him. At that crucial moment, Sophie rushes in and shoots Alejandro, ending his life for good. Once again, she arrives just in time to save her father. With Alejandro dead, the nightmare finally ends. In the months that follow, both Baudry and January must recover from their injuries. After enough time passes, Baudry and Sophie invite January to live with them, giving her a place where she can finally feel safe and protected. In the end, the lesson is simple. Never place your faith in an isolated cabin, a smiling officer, or a person standing next to a lawnmower, because trouble always finds a way in, and it is the child who was trained to survive who becomes the true hero.